Welcome back to In the Oven with Adam and Brad.
What up?
Yeah, I think we talked about it last time, our camera upgrades. I wonder if did anyone notice them? Were you like, oh man, these cameras are looking sweet, you know? Adam noticed that when I got up and walked to the fridge to grab our Versa energy drink by pscience.com, discount code Brad, that the camera like really tracked me really well and stayed in focus the whole time.
It did.
So. It did. I was looking for items to talk about on this.
Right.
And I don't know if you see the first one. World's first CapCut movie.
Awesome.
So the African Cinema Group or something, they used a Samsung phone, an iPhone, and CapCut to make an entire hour-and-a-half superhero movie.
Okay.
And they were worried that they weren't going to be able to, like, as they were exporting it, that would crash and they'd lose all their footage. So they, like, broke it up into these, like, 13 to 16-minute chunks.
Okay.
And then made a trailer. And someone saw the trailer and donated a computer so that they can put the whole movie together.
Oh, they didn't have access to one?
No.
Oh, wow.
The iPhone and Samsung were borrowed.
Oh, wow. Okay, that gives me more context.
Yeah,
I thought it was
so
like
go ahead and roll it.
Sorry, I was thinking social experiment where like we make...
It is criminal that more people don't know about this. A group of teenagers in Africa have just created the world's first hour-long superhero movie that's recorded on a phone and entirely edited on CapCut. What you are seeing right now took a staggering 2 months to edit. They call themselves the African Cinematic Universe. The filming process took about 7 days and was all shot on a borrowed iPhone 10. All of the editing, including the VFX, the sound effects, was all done on CapCut using a Samsung 7S Edge and an Amazon Fire tablet. As if this needed to be any harder, but they did this all without any food or water. And no, comments, it's not because they were in Africa, it was because it was the month of Ramadan. And the ultimate fear around all of this is that their phone would crash during the export process and they would lose all of their work. So they overcame this by cutting and exporting the movie in 13 to 16 minute segments. And then by a stroke of luck, someone who saw the trailer donated them a PC so that they could put them all together and export the full hour.
That's good.
Hey, y'all go check this out. This is great, man.
So
heck yeah.
When I had some of these topics up here, Eastman said, hey, are you worried that now that y'all are finding topics that you're going to stray away from like what this podcast was originally intended to do, which was business stuff? But I told him, I said, no, I think there's business implications for everything that we're going to talk about today.
I do too.
And this is huge, right? Because the barrier to entry to be a visual effects artist or a producer or stuff like that used to be the camera, the equipment, the computers, and everything that you needed to like edit this stuff. Right. But I mean, they've now done a lot of the iPhone commercials just shot on iPhones.
Well, I mean, yes, absolutely. But the first thing that kind of came to my mind was, you know, and because I don't know, right? I hear Africa, who knows what level of condition their lives were, but if they had to borrow an iPhone, they probably don't have a lot of money, and the ability to do this, to learn how to do all that. I don't know how to do all that. To learn how to do all that, to ingenuity, man. Ingenuity, and I don't know, hopefully they make good money off this. Entrepreneurial spirit. And so the technology is going to level the playing field.
Yeah, I mean, you really have no excuse now. Like, if you want to be anything in this world, outside of like, you know, a monetary barrier to get there, like the information is his thing.
Yeah, dude, there's literal single digit, maybe not single digit, 10-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids, whatever, making money with technology today, doing something. I don't believe the incredible hustle figure numbers of Hustlers University or pick one, right? But like, you know, you teach a kid some digital marketing skills and they can help your family business with their Facebook ads or with whatever, or a friend, or, I mean, dang, man, to think about that, you could be learning like Google, thank you, buddy. You could be learning Google Maps level marketing or from Africa for Pittsburgh.
Right. Yeah.
I mean.
So it actually, it kind of reminds me of what I'd seen on the flight. I watched Phil Heath's documentary on his Olympia thing. I don't know if you've seen it at all.
I've watched a bunch of clips of things.
It starts out with like talking about like how he wanted to be a basketball player and how essentially like he wasn't gonna, you know, cut it there. But yeah, because he actually got injured. He actually was really good. He got injured. But long story short, he decided to do the bodybuilding thing,
Yeah.
and he learned everything from like reading bodybuilding magazines, which me and you both know like 90% of that is just bullshit.
Yes.
It's a lie.
Right.
Anything you read in these magazines with bodybuilding and their diets and all that stuff is just completely garbage. It's not true. It's not actually their diets and stuff. But anyways, that's how he learned everything. Now, there's so much more information. Macronutrients, like how to track macros. You can read about people's entire contest preps.
Yeah.
Like
ChatGPT will write you. I mean, just throw in the prompt, man. Write me a 10-week meal prep plan. You know, I want to eat this many meals a day, these macros or whatever. And you can give it an exclusions list. Like if you can, it just depends on how well you want to prompt it. It'll do it all for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's wild. And that's what I was saying. It's like, think about like potentially, because all this is speculation, but how much better Phil Heath could have been if he would have had the knowledge that some of these kids have now.
Sure.
And I think that's why you're seeing such an advance in things like athleticism, you know, not to take away from any of the greats like Kobe and Michael and stuff like that, but the playing field is just a lot deeper now because there's a Florida Academy. What's it called? Like IMG Academy?
Well, yes. Yeah.
And literally kids are like learning to be professional baseball players and football players from the moment they're like 6.
Exactly. So there's that level of development. Yeah, it's just a deeper playing field, man. You've got all different kinds of development here.
Well, I mean, what kind of gloves were available for me and you as football players if we were wide receivers when we were kids?
Yep.
Not the kind of gloves they got now.
Nope.
I mean, I actually put on a pair because I'd never done before, and you clap your hands and they got
a little stick to them for sure. Yeah, they catch that ball.
Yeah,
they help. They help. But I mean, really, I just I love the idea that a piece of technology could elevate somebody. I mean, I hope they make a lot of money off this. Yeah. I'll watch it wherever they put it out at. I like superhero movies.
Someone said this is already better than Bollywood movies.
So yeah, shots fired. Some of those are pretty bad. And if you actually get those, if you ever watch some of them subtitled, not dubbed, but subtitled, I don't know if it's right or not, but they say really dirty stuff in a bunch of their songs.
Yeah.
Really, it's not like rap hip hop songs, but they're like straight up talking about having sex, doing all this stuff, like right there in the songs, like not even hiding it. And it's so like friendly sounding. But I don't know if it's true or not, but it says it on the screen. I've watched it. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I spent time around a bunch of third country nationals working for the government, so.
But no, yeah, I agree with you. It's just the idea that you can go change your life. And it's just really like today, especially, you know, this time, you can create the life you want.
Yeah.
You just got to be willing to do
yeah, you've never been set up more, for sure. Yeah, you got to watch out for the charlatans, but I guess they've always been out there. There's just maybe more of them in your face or something.
The snake oil salesmen have always been around. Yep. They're just now harder to differentiate.
I feel like there's more of them or whatever, maybe.
Yeah, it's just more, I think, because you can see more, right? Because how many?
Right.
You used to could only have conversations with the people you came in contact with, which would be like, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 people.
Well,
but now
which is a reason why I think the world is so anxious and stressed out. Truthfully, though, too, is because, like, again, we talked about that on the show, but people wake up, go straight on their phones to social media.
Oh yeah,
download like all of the terrors of the world.
I would
stuff that is not going to come over here and bother you at all. You now know it, and you can't do nothing with stuff that you know.
I would say that 60% of people, probably, maybe 70 even, within the first 30 minutes of waking are on their phones.
Bro, I don't know what percent I'd stick to it, but I know a lot of people that are. It's how early I get up, right? And so when I'm getting sent things that, like, I know when you tell me, like, people tell me they get up and like 6 a.m., 6:15 a.m., I'm getting sent memes. I appreciate it. Y'all keep sending them, but like, I know you're like diving out of bed onto your phone or whatever. Yeah. And then, you know, I get it waking up tired, whatever, get on my phone, check it out. I'm not immune to it. I'm not saying I do, but like, if the algorithm's got you in a certain way, man, you get picking up on them.
Yeah, no
doom and gloom.
Late and stuff
you're like,
too.
oh, yeah.
Well, that actually brings up something else I'd seen. I didn't put it up there, but it was a podcast, and this guy was talking about a rule that he has in his family, and he has a rule that like no cell phones in your bedrooms.
Okay.
For his kids.
That's fair.
And he said, I just imagine what I would have been like as a 15-year-old boy having a cell phone in my room. He said, not even from the standpoint of like pornography and things like that, but he said standpoint of like sleep deprivation. He goes, I would have been scrolling all night. And he goes, do you know sleep deprivation is like one of the number one torture techniques, and we just do it to ourselves.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
And so I was going to ask you, because you obviously Letty's so young, it's
Sure.
not even something like, how do you feel about that idea of like no phones?
Yeah, we have hard limits, hard times. I very much agree with that. I've known people to take it a little farther, and it's like when you're at the house, you don't really need it unless you ask for it.
Right.
It's not away from me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably something that we'll keep. I'm sure my kids will get phones younger than I thought my kids would have phones. You know, Liam's out on the beach right now. I completely trust. He's with Darcy and them.
Yeah.
Completely trust them. Completely.
Does he have a phone with him?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't hate it if he had one.
Right.
I'd probably only just pester him, but it's my son, dude.
Yeah.
I want to be like, you're alive, right?
Well, Liam's actually, is he 10?
He's 11.
11.
Yep.
So, like, to me, like, he is approaching the age that a phone. I got my first phone at 16 because I was driving, and then my sister, by default, being just a year and a half younger than me, got a phone at the same time.
Right. I was like 12 or 13. I was young, single mom, latchkey kid, and don't want to bring it up, but like all the terrible stuff that's happened in
Right.
schools had happened. It had just started kind of popping off, and some of mom's like, yeah, you need one of these.
Right.
Just have it on you.
Yeah. But again,
Don't get in trouble. Don't
but
take
our
it out in
phones
class.
didn't do what the phones do now. Our phones were like we could play Snake, and you couldn't access the internet.
Oh, yeah, it didn't do anything that you had to worry about. Texting was hard.
You could text, but it was like
Cost.
25 cents per text
Yeah.
message, so you didn't text because your mother would murder you.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
So it is a little bit different, but I do agree. I think that obviously like being able to get in touch with your family is important.
Well, what's wild, though, is, and I imagine maybe it'll be easier. They have some kind of, you turn around, Liam's got an iPad, right? And he's not doing anything necessarily wrong, but boom, now he's like FaceTiming with his cousin, and they just know how to do stuff so fast. You don't have to teach him anything. Somebody's there to like teach him how to do it. And like, it's cool. It's neat seeing his brain being able to do that, problem solve or whatever. But it's like, I kind of want to know what your problem is that you're solving at this age still.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's kind of tough.
Yeah, I think that the hard part is I remember when I was a kid, my parents demonizing video games.
Yep.
Like, you're spending too much time playing video games. It's not going to do anything for your life. You're spending too much time on the computer.
Yep.
It's not going to do anything. And it's like, no, thank God I did, because I actually know how to navigate a computer, where there are people that didn't spend any time on a computer that struggle with it, right?
Yep.
And then same thing with video games. You'll never be able to. Now I have friends, like, you know that I do, like close friends that literally are making hundreds of thousands of dollars plus as streamers and stuff.
Yeah, and with the video game thing, I've got no problem with people playing video games, dude. It's a hobby like anything else. I think it's been demonized to a point. I don't think it's responsible for the violence and stuff like that. But it's just, what they've done is they've connected us by disconnecting us. So like, I went to LAN parties when I was younger, and you took your freaking computer and ridiculously heavy monitors and you set it all up in a room.
Right.
And like, even when you were playing, you were kind of like waiting to do that thing again or whatever.
Right.
And so now it's like, yeah, if you're a gamer, maybe you're going to these big conferences or something, or there is like social interaction, but man, people are just further removing themselves. And so like, no, I think truthfully, I think if my son went unchecked, he's a great kid. He would play Fortnite all night long. He would sleep when he had to absolutely pass out. And if, again, that went unchecked for his whole life, he would be like a zombie person.
Yeah. Well,
Probably real afraid to like interact with people outside. I mean, people get real anxious. They don't want to talk to anyone. They want to.
Well, that's like what you brought up. I mean, I do know streamers, that literally their interaction is with the DoorDash delivery driver and then the people on their chat. There is no actual.
I know, but I know people
interaction.
that have like complained to the point where they like put in their DoorDash, like just leave it.
Or just, I don't even want to.
I don't even want to interact with you.
Yeah.
And like, I get it. You don't want to, but I don't know, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely an interesting thing. But so speaking of technology not running to help your life, so a man is suing Apple over the fact that he would delete text messages on his phone, but it wasn't deleting them off of his computer.
Oops.
And his wife found the messages to the prostitute.
Yeah, I already could figure out where that's going.
We can roll this real quick. So.
Right. Not going behind your wife's back. That's not why he got divorced. It's the text message, huh? Okay. Okay, Richard.
Yeah. So he's suing Apple for $5 million plus his legal fees on this thing. And
I hope that law firm was like, yeah, we'll take your case. We need 25 grand up front or 100 grand up front or something. But we'll take your case.
The sad part is, though, we talked about this, like, he potentially could win because it's like, he deleted his message.
Yeah, that's the tough thing about, like, what the courts have to face is that, yeah, you're right. I mean, there may be some agreement somewhere, whatever. I hope his ex-wife gets it.
So he's trying for $5 million to get the amount he had to give his ex-wife. So she apparently got £5 million from their divorce. So
it's not Apple's fault, but it softens it, I guess.
Also, if he had that much money, he should have probably been way better at doing whatever he was doing.
I don't know, man. That's just gross. It's just avoiding all. That's what's wrong with the world, man. That's what's wrong with the world.
Yeah.
You know, it's that like.
It's not my fault this actually happened.
I ran smack into the back of your car. Your fault.
Yeah. You stopped too quickly.
Or why can't we just be like, man, I pulled out in front of you. I didn't see.
Yeah.
Everybody just like, not my fault. Not my fault. Not my fault.
Yeah.
So, whatever. Yeah. Slow demise.
Well, yeah. Something else that it was really funny. I know I'm skipping over this, but have you heard of China's fake waterfall?
I did see this one.
Oh, you have seen it?
I did. I love it.
So apparently, I guess we just roll it. He does a good job of explaining.
This has to be the craziest shit I've ever seen. So China had this super famous waterfall that attracts millions of tourists every year. In fact, not only is it said to be their most beautiful in the country, but it's also their tallest waterfall too. But things kind of got a little bit awkward yesterday when a hiker discovered that the water was coming out of a pipe. I mean, that gives Made in China a whole new meaning. The video has gone so viral that Chinese officials were forced to apologize, and they did so as the waterfall. The statement reads, I made a small enhancement during the dry season only so I would look my best to meet my friends. I didn't expect to meet everyone this way. This is why we have...
You just answer in the first person as a waterfall.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny because, like, I don't know, like I could tell like immediately as soon as it got closer that there was obviously pipes carrying this water.
That's coming out of the face of the rock.
Right. It's not the way water falls normally, you know? Yeah. So I just think it's interesting that it's China's biggest and most beautiful waterfall and all that stuff, and it was fake.
China fakes everything.
So did you hear the story about the AI image that won the photo contest like last year? Sony hosted a photo contest, and an AI image won. The person admitted that was AI and like kind of did it as a test and like didn't accept the reward. The next person got it. Well, then a person submitted a real photograph to an AI image contest, and they won. And it was this flamingo that has its like head tucked under, so it looks like a flamingo with a missing head or something like that. So it does look like AI just screwed up a flamingo.
Right, I saw that.
But it's like very hyper realistic. So then they got disqualified, obviously, and they didn't win. But I think that he was bouncing off the other one's idea is that one, I think you're going to get to the point where you're not going to be able to tell what's AI and what's not, and two, there's beauty in everything. AI,
yeah, well,
AI.
You could. I mean, if you go into the, I don't even know what word I'm looking, philosophical side of it, maybe. I mean, if you use the medium of AI to create art, I feel like you're still the artist,
right?
But then if AI uses the medium of something, I don't know. Because like if you ask your student to make you a vase, you're not an artist,
right?
Right. Is that what's going on? Kind of, but not.
Yeah, and with AI right now, it's only going to produce something that's good as the thing prompting it to.
Yeah, right.
But I also know it's kind of random because I've submitted the same prompt twice, and one time I got something really great, and then like for actually the Adobe Photoshop, I got 3 images, and one of them were really great. Regenerated the next 3 images, all of them were trash, and it was the same exact prompt. And so I think that it's hard because it's like almost like it's not just the prompt, but how lucky you get.
Well, so, and I learned this just recently. If you get to the ones that show all what's going on, there's like levels to it. So like they can get tighter. So in just the prompts, yes, but then there's, I don't even know what all the words are. You can change this to so many milliseconds. A lot of it's time-based. I don't know if it's time spent thinking about it or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, gosh, I can't even think of the website. I'll come prepared next time. But it's got like code or whatever. And when you generate it, it generates all the code. And then you can kind of like, I wasn't able to do anything with it. But somebody could. Sure.
Yeah, you could decipher the code and then you could actually make changes in the code.
Do more. It's how they like upscale.
Right.
And then whatever they call where they can make the picture bigger. That's a really cool feature. Like the opposite of cropping.
Right, yeah.
Where you're like, hey, just make it bigger.
Generative fill type thing. Yeah.
Just keep going.
Right.
Like, neat.
Have you seen the commercials where they'll like take them and they're like, they start out with something small and they generative fill it and they like make a whole commercial out of it? And it's just like ridiculous. It's funny. It's really funny.
AI is wild right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to compare. I mean, AI would probably be like the internet was for my parents. Just like the vastness of information provided to you, not really sure what you're going to do with it, but you know it's going to change everything for everyone. I mean, you look at it, there's no company that's not using the internet.
The difference is, I think everybody now, after experiencing the internet, because when the internet came out, how many people they were like, what do I do with this thing? Right. There were a lot of people that discounted it. I mean, phone books were still bumping at that time, you know? And so I think everybody knows, like, like you said, we don't know what the hell we're going to do with it, but this thing's going to be powerful and it's going to be huge. And so y'all that didn't take the time, whatever, learn AI.
What's going to be obsolete first? You know, because like you brought up phone books. Like I do remember still getting the yellow page books and having to search in the back of it. And then all of a sudden you just could like, it wasn't Google though. It wasn't, I don't remember what we used. Yahoo search maybe? I don't know.
Assistance, administrative work, driving as soon as they can allow it.
Yeah.
Some form of flight with all the drone companies.
Well, yeah, you've shown me that app Motion, which I keep seeing ads for it. I kind of want to pay for it just to see how good it is, but it's almost like a virtual assistant.
It just slides in and does all your stuff for you, but you have to set it all up.
Right.
So there's a big learning curve. I tried for a minute. There's a big learning curve, which I don't have time for that right now.
Right.
But no, just imagine the ones where you just install and it just goes like, cool, I just need like a week of you just being you.
Yeah.
And I got you.
Right.
You know, just live your life normally. I'll listen to your phone calls. I'll know which calls you pick up, how quickly you pick them up. You know, like,
well, yeah. I mean, I think the moment that we have a system that has a personal assistant that literally is like listening to you all the time and watching what you do, I think that it within like, you know, like you said, a week or two, it can literally be like, hey, I think it's time for you to order your groceries now. Like you're running low on food.
Well, so like, I'm using the trial of Meat Geek and, you know, there's a lot to improve on it, but it's got the transcript, which is okay, but you have to read it all. At the bottom, AI surmises sort of what everybody said.
Right. And it tells you like who's been tasked with things and stuff. I've noticed it. It was
pretty neat. And so I don't know. We'll see. It's one of those things where it's like, just like everything in AI right now, they're like, oh man, in like 2 weeks, it's going to be a freaking game changer. And they're like, a lot of times they're serious. The timelines are so short that you're like, it must be great for sales. It's like, just hang in there. Whereas before you're like, dude, bullshit, it's going to take years.
Oh, yeah.
Now you're like, I don't know what you're going to be able to do next week.
Well, you just think about like, used to, you got a cell phone update like not very often.
Yeah.
You rarely were updating your cell phone. Right. I mean, I remember when they would be like, it was almost like every 6 months, they're like, Apple's releasing this new update. And now, bro, I'm getting like updates like every couple of weeks or something on it. And then now they're rolling out the new iOS system.
Well, there's a lot of it. They've gone full on like almost game system mode where it's like slap as much hardware as you can. We'll figure out how to tune that bad boy later.
Right.
You know, like just because like, you know, get an Xbox, the games are kind of like, and then like the games just keep getting better and better, but you didn't do anything to your,
right.
Yeah. Like figure out how to, you know, and they're like, okay, we know what to do now. It's wild. I don't, Kirsty and I were watching something actually at lunch. They were saying by 2028, they expect AI to reach super intelligence. I didn't get fully to the part what that means, but the gist of it was that like either a doctor and AI are going to be working side by side, or possibly people working for like using the AI to go like, hey, is this what I do here?
Yeah.
Do I make this call? Do I do this? Like almost like
right
promoting them.
Right. I mean, I definitely I don't
Which
know.
I understand.
I do. That's what I was gonna say. I kind of understand. It's just like my cell phone. I never thought I would have that much information at my fingertips. You know. Also very frustrating though. Like when you're trying to get a web page or something and it won't load.
Yes.
You know. Like I won't get into that. But it makes you think. Like if I could have this AI thing in my pocket that I could literally just ask it any question, or I don't know, even like to the standpoint of it's gathering so much information about you that it could be like a counselor to you. It can be like all this other stuff. It's just, I don't know. I'm like leery of it, but I also see the benefit of it, but I also see the not.
It's going to slide into our lives in the form of comfort and, whatever. You take a lot of all the, but good things too, but all the bad things slide in that way. We just slowly let them in. I don't know, man. I'm with you. When I'm trying to spell the word necessary and my phone goes ahead and knows it for me, I trust it. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
So if I asked it something, depending on what it was, it would probably be right.
Yeah.
And with the advancements they're making, at whatever point, whether it's 2028 or not, but it's probably going to be the right one.
Yeah.
That's scary.
You have to watch Atlas before the next time
I'll check it out.
on. Because I want to talk about that movie on here because we talk about AI, I feel like so much. And I'm sure people are watching this are like, why are y'all always talking about AI? I legitimately believe single-handedly that thing is going to change our lives more than anything else over the next few years than anything else there is to talk about. If you want to talk about the ability for something to work nonstop, have no brain fatigue, and to be able to solve some of the complex problems in life. I mean, I think that AI is going to be the thing that figures out the cure to cancer if there is ever going to be a cure to cancer.
Agree with you. Yeah, it's going to, because it's like combining the intellects of people in a more seamless way. It's removing egos. It's removing, and again, we're all human. So-and-so needed to be named on that paper over so-and-so else. It has to have happened at least one time. Or, you know what I'm saying, right? Yeah. If egos are removed, if all of that is removed, if truthfully just execution solving of the problem is all that mattered, and it's a computer, doesn't have emotions. Yeah, dude, it's going to solve all kinds of stuff. Now, is it going to decide it needs to break a few eggs before it makes an omelet? And is it going to be able to make that decision or not?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the part that everybody kind of talks about. I don't think Terminators are about to pop out of the ground, but I don't know that you're going to have the right to pull the cord anymore.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I don't know if that's going to be on you anymore.
It reminds me of that movie, I think maybe Tom Cruise is in it, the one where they arrest you because you're going to do something bad.
Yes.
I don't remember that, but literally they come and arrest you because they have
Minority Report.
Essentially, they have an AI system that is
they have them psychics in the thing, but they're like, they're
like
AI.
What it is. And essentially all they're doing is running algorithms that say essentially, this person's about to do this just based on what
you're about to do murder.
Yeah. So anyways, that would be wild. But speaking of ego and some of this science stuff, I don't know if you know, but Neil deGrasse Tyson actually responded to Terrence Howard recently.
I know that. I follow my guy. That's my
so
guy,
you've
Neil.
Watched the video?
I did.
Okay. Did you watch the other video? There's a physicist lady who talks about 1 × 1 = 2 and how that's completely nonsense by him. So last time we talked about this, for people that don't remember, Terrence Howard is an actor, but he's very involved in physics and trying to, I think, come up with some groundbreaking physics stuff. And by listening through the Neil deGrasse Tyson one, he pretty much is saying the same thing that Terrence Howard is saying about current stuff, is that Terrence Howard is trying to build his argument on fallacious reasoning, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Same with the woman. She said 1 × 1 = 1. It does not equal 2. He is using 1 penny times 1 penny, to mean something. And she's like, it's actually penny squared. He's just messing up units essentially. Yep. And she walks through all of his mistakes and stuff.
So I think it's more and I know I heard somebody else say this, but it's 1 or 2 × 2 = 4, right? But 2 apples times 2 apples doesn't equal anything. It equals unknown number. I mean, you can't, right? Because now we've turned them into units. You can't really multiply. You could multiply 2 apples times 2.
Right.
Right? But you can't multiply 2 apples times 2 apples.
Yeah, it would be 4 apples squared.
Yeah, there you go. Right? So, but...
Again, it's not an actual measurement. That's what she said, though. She said, like, you can take 18 chopsticks and multiply it by 2 Teslas.
Well,
and you
what I see him getting hung up on and possibly not being able to... I get hung up on weird things, too. And so the way he phrased it of 1 times... And times always meaning multiply, and if multiply means whatever, but you're kind of getting stuck on like a grammatical term mixed into a mathematical situation. So I see that. However, homie still builds all kinds of really cool looking stuff.
So in the video, Neil deGrasse Tyson says, like, I don't really know what you're trying to say with these visuals, but they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that he talked to Terrence the way that you would talk to me, that I would talk to you. It's like you could come up to me and say something and I could be like, yeah, that's not right. And you would listen to what I had to say, but he got upset about it.
Yes.
Terrence did.
Yes.
His ego got
upset about it. I thought that Neil deGrasse, and again, this math is the basics, and when I'm walked through it, of course, but like I could walk you through things that are, you know what I mean? They could walk me through math that was wrong, and I would just be like, I guess you're right here.
Yeah.
But handled it like an absolute professional.
Well, yeah, he was talking. The lady I was listening to was talking about how Terrence said like everything is light.
Yeah.
And she said he uses E equals MC squared to prove that, but the equation isn't E equals MC squared. It's E equals the square root of E squared MC to the 4th, you know, like whatever, like plus this vector that has to do with light. But everyone else like takes that part off the equation because if you're not dealing with light, you don't need that part. So anyway, she was explaining it, but she essentially like the equation is not equals MC squared. That's not the equation. It's a much more complex equation. However, because of the way that most people use the equation, you can take the tail end off and make it 0, take the square root, and you get equals MC squared.
Sure.
And so she was just walking through. He's making an assumption based on an incorrect formula, and then he builds off of that, and then
you can always build off of improper math.
Right? Sure. Yeah. And so it was definitely interesting. I think none of them are negating his visual things he's creating. Yeah. The drone that he created,
drone's pretty cool.
Some of that stuff, but a lot of them are just saying that like he's off base on some of his physics stuff, and I think it brings up Tesla. Tesla had a lot of really great theories. He also had a lot of things that didn't pan out. I think to be a genius, sometimes you have to have some
be incredibly intelligent to be a crazy person sometimes too.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah, you know, there's a lot of artists that drop single really good songs, sometimes multiple really good songs, then fall off. You know, it doesn't mean that they're always the GOAT, if you will. With folks like Tesla, with all those folks, a lot of the stuff's so grandiose, and it's all part of why I like it, because there are great counter arguments of like funding getting pulled and all these things, and like, so it's great to talk about, but like, I don't know. I know that Terrence is very convinced that Terrence is right.
Yeah,
and like, how many other people like laughed at? I'm not equating him to Einstein, but things that weren't proven until way after they died.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, he was a well-respected guy during his time too, but you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is like Neil deGrasse Tyson says, like, these are like, you're arguing about things that we actually have proven.
Yeah.
And then you're building your argument off of them potentially being not true, but they're a proven truth, you know?
Right, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So, but I mean, I do, like I said, I think that Neil deGrasse Tyson and them do appreciate his almost like engineering part, like with the designs and
they're
stuff.
Like, we think you're building something cool.
Yeah, they're
Keep
like,
going.
He's like, I'm not sure what you're saying in this, but these are some of the most beautiful like structures or whatever that you've created. So
keep on keeping on.
Yeah, so some of the stuff may be great, but a lot of this stuff is just off base. So for anyone that was watching our previous one, 1 times 1 does in fact equal 1, and I'm pretty set on that as well. So, but from the scientific world, have you ever seen wood that is stronger than steel?
I have.
Oh, you have seen this?
I have. I told this one to Eastman.
Oh, okay. So that's why he
metal wood.
told me about that. Yeah.
Metal wood.
So they take wood through 2 different processes. The first one is like soaking it into some kind of solvent and then essentially squishing it down.
Yep.
And then the other one is
so the wood is made up of the cellulose fibers, right, and then lignin, and the lignin works as like a binding agent or glue in the cellulose fibers, and it's malleable when it's saturated enough. And they were using the term liquid. They didn't really say what it was. I don't think it gets saturated enough with water.
Sodium hydroxide and sodium sulfate.
There you go. Perfect.
Sulfite, yeah.
So.
Yeah, so they use sodium hydroxide and sodium sulfate, the same thing that they do to like make wood pulp into paper, you know, because it removes that, the lignin from it.
And then they squish it.
Yeah, and then they squish it down.
Yeah.
And so they take this 1-inch piece of wood and it comes into this like probably like quarter inch maybe piece. And the cool thing I was seeing is they took like just like laminate sheets of wood, and they were making these honeycomb structures that were so strong the guy was like standing on them, and he said that this would replace like aluminum honeycomb inside like aircraft and stuff like that.
Doors.
They're saying that it could be potentially half the price of the metal, and wood we have so available to us. And you and I have talked, one of the major issues with wood today versus wood 30 years ago when they were building houses is that they're using technology to build the trees so much quicker.
Fast-growing varieties.
Right? So the density is not as good. So
exactly right.
2x4 isn't as strong because like literally you can look at a 2x4 and you could be like, this tree was like under 6 years old. You can tell by the rings. Right. Whereas when you looked at a 2x6 really, or 2x4, which was actually 2 inches by 4 inches, in the early
50,
days,
you'd
see like all these rings and it was just dense. And so this would fix that, but they haven't been able to do it at scale.
Right. They haven't been able to do it at scale, but you hit it right on the head, man. This would be undoing the cons of fast-growing timbers, fast-growing varieties of pines and stuff that they use. They use different varieties up north, but pine down here for sure. And yeah, dude. I mean, like, so on the one hand, you've got the people worried about deforestation. But if you've got fast-growing trees, it's just like farmland. This is like plot work.
Right.
And if you are reducing the need to repair, rebuild, whatever, because you have damn near permanent material, I mean, you have metal that's not going to rust. So, like, just take it down, put it up somewhere else. I mean, it seems like you would...
well, and they said this the CO2 footprint from this is actually like negative, whereas it is, it's positive from aluminum stuff. So if you think about it, all of the people making steel and all that stuff, obviously you have to get those resources to create steel, and then you have to go through a process. If you take all of that land now and you just planted tons of trees that you could just continue to harvest, you're essentially helping out the environment.
Yeah, dude, I don't really see a net negative here for the world at all. I see capitalism happening. I see reducing of, waste in the way that we use waste construction materials these days. It's pretty cool.
So at scale, I think it's a really cool concept. Just because
it's so funny because it's working with trees, but I'm like, okay, this is the kind of technology like I really like to see. We went apeshit during the Industrial Revolution and just were like, let's just smog out the planet if we can.
Right.
I know we've backpedaled from that, and hopefully we do that a lot less, but man, that's cool.
Well, they were just talking about like the implications for this in a lot of different industries that you don't even think about. Mm-hmm. So like I said, cars, it's lighter. It's a lot lighter than the steel. And then it's just as strong. It's bulletproof even.
Right.
So he had made siding for a house out of this stuff.
Yeah, I know, dude. Bulletproof your house.
Yeah, your house is bulletproof.
It's cool, man. It's got all the wood grain in it still, and it's like got a deeper, darker. It looks like it's been stained.
Yeah, which I'm sure it would take paint. Anyways, if you wanted to paint it,
some kind of paint.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting process. Like I said, I think it's really cool that you can like honeycomb stuff. They talked about inside of doors, and the fire protection.
I know it won't
burn.
Yeah, it can't burn. It's small.
So it's like from a standpoint, of what you could possibly do in your house. I mean, think about it. Your floors could be done that way.
Would be dope.
Yeah, it'd be very cool. Wild the amount of stuff.
I don't know the style of architecture, but it would be really neat to see them do like what they do in Japan with all the interlock, like where there's no, just joints,
right,
like pins and stuff.
Right.
That'd be neat.
So I guess my only thing that like worries me about this is just the standpoint of like when I was reading up on it, like this was talked about in like 2018, so 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the video I watched was only like 4 weeks old, and they're just now getting to the point where they're building this plant to potentially be able to do, I don't remember, it was like $1 million.
Well, you got to think about it, man. When there's these big, it's going to be somebody like Elon or somebody that invests in them.
Right. They have government funding from the University of Maryland.
Right, because you're going to upset industries.
Oh, yeah.
Well, those are the people, they're the ones with the extra money as investors. And, they're not going to invest in your company. They just buy it, shelve it.
I don't know why people don't like to hear this stuff, but the truth is, the way the government is run is by big companies who have money to influence them, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm running for a government seat, I've got to have donors in order to campaign, right? And then on top of that, those donors want to make sure that I'm doing what they need me to do. Whenever I get in there. Yeah. And so I think,
we look at it like it's going to be like, hey, when you get in office, do this super obvious thing.
Yeah.
It's not obvious, man. It's like being absent at a vote that they needed you to be at. It's like malingering and being slow to change and making sure that no funding goes into sectors. And I mean, it's silly. I mean, we talked about it earlier, whatever. Yeah, occasionally it's a awarded contract or this, but like, I don't know. I think it's more like, hey, get into office and like slow down this sector.
Right.
Like.
Well, and let's not even get into the fact that like,
because then they turn around and invest in their companies.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say, let's not even get into the fact that they are signing bills and things into place that become laws that they get to see before anyone else gets to see, and then they get to make investments into companies as well.
Like net neutrality.
Yeah.
Like they all knew that was going to pass.
Right.
How many companies were heavily affected by that? A shit ton.
Well, yeah. I mean, how many companies are affected by AI and stuff like that? And then these.
Well, but you're allowed to short these companies.
Yeah.
And then pass a bill that like, everybody's going to go crazy about and pull their money, and then just go, okay, cancel my short position. And then even if it stables out, I mean, they do it all the time.
Yeah.
There's whole sites that are just based around that mess.
There's whole sites that are based around just following. You're talking about following.
You can get trade bots that will trade Nancy Pelosi's trades right behind her for you.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, and it, like all of these people are up like insane amounts. Yeah. Like even the worst ones.
Thousands of %.
Yeah, nowhere else can you enter a market where you make $174,000 per year, but be a millionaire in a couple of years.
Yeah, dude, they are out trading Wall Street. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. So I guess the last thing, since we're talking about money and trading, that I have up here is the Trump to get rid of the federal. Well, he has an idea to get rid of federal income tax and replace it with tariffs. Mm-hmm. The video I watched was on TikTok from that same guy that we watched the other ones on, and he's very opposed to it because he feels that the cost will be given essentially to the consumer. Businesses are going to pass that cost on. Walmart is the largest importer apparently, and they're going to essentially be like, well, we're not paying that, you're paying that, right? And so he feels that. Well, they said that the tariff would have to be like, it'd have to average out to like 85% to make up for the income taxes. So essentially almost doubling the price of all your goods.
Well, I mean, we talked about this before. Well, one, I think income tax is theft. The more money you make, the more money they take. It's just theft, in my opinion. Income tax in general. As you grow a business, you pay all your employees, obviously. When the business is such that it has to make the move to cut jobs or not add jobs and add them in another country, that's where my brain goes. You're paying a tariff on all the jobs you're not having here in America. All that economic stimulus needs to stay here.
Right.
I think what's going on a lot, and I don't know how tariffs are going to fix this, but the U.S. government has always been able to, obviously every government can, print more money when it needs more money. But we've done a fairly good job at sending that money all over the world and doing kind of the same thing that we talked about. Hey, I need you to do this thing for me. We've always been able to get energy, resources, set up bases, do whatever we need to do. So we are really like, our biggest export is like debt, you know?
Yeah.
And favors. And so we've now allowed all this, because of what's gone on in America with the rates and everything else. I feel like a lot of that money that was sent out amongst the world to the effectively oligarchs of the various countries.
Yeah.
I feel like it's made its way back to the United States. Basically, long-winded stories. There's no reason that like $10 million condos all over Miami should have gotten scooped up in 1 year. Same in every major city all across, from foreign people. And again, I got nothing. I like foreign people, but like, why you got $10 million parked over here in an empty condo?
Yeah.
And it's like, so now everybody has to deal with all this inflation because it trickles all the way down to this $1 million house that should cost $180,000.
Right.
And like, I don't know what the hell we do with it, but if it's not take some money out of some of the people's pockets, and again, I'm not a tax the rich, I'm not a tax whatever. So in fact, hey, rich guy, you now don't have to pay income taxes, but your company has to pay or whatever for all these jobs you're not hiring.
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm more okay with that. I guess let me preface all that to say that I think AI being so powerful is going to put so many people out of jobs anyways that I don't know.
My question would be, the company's never going to pay because they're publicly traded. They have a obligation to their shareholders to make as much profit as possible. Yep. So they're going to raise the cost on all of these items, right? I think that it's such a complex problem that you can't say, oh, if they need to raise tariffs by, on average, 85%, then you will be paying 85% more for all of your goods. Because I don't think it's an XY equation.
Well, no, the government's so mismanaged. They need to do both. They need to raise everything, truthfully, and then they'll mismanage that, and they'll need to raise it again.
Right.
So I still stand on income taxes.
Well, because at some point, though, if something is, for example, our boxes, if they cost me 100% more, just to make math easy, from China than they cost me in the U.S., well, now I'd be ordering U.S. boxes because they'd be about the same price as the U.S. boxes. So, yes, I would be passing that cost on to my customer because I am going to raise my prices because of that. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, U.S. manufacturers now are going to get a contract from me for boxes that they wouldn't have had before.
Correct. So some of this that would be a tariff that we would incur from purchasing a service that we would not incur if we purchased stateside. We would pass that along to the customer. But I don't think our size company is the ones that are really doing any real economic harm by doing that. Because we're just kind of keeping the economy stimulated. You and I collect some money from here. We still go spend it. We still do things, right? Economy stays fairly stimulated.
The car market would be huge.
It's when Ford opens a plant in China instead of here, and thousands of jobs, tens of thousands possibly, and all that economic stimulus to go with it to include these people got to live somewhere, they got to pay, so they got to buy groceries. All that is now in China, you know?
Yeah.
And one company's pocket. And so again, I'm definitely not a tax the rich guy, but like, Johnson & Johnson, you made $100 million working outside of the United States. You would have only made 20 working inside the United States. There's some margin there for, and again, I know the government's going to do a bad job of getting it to the people, but I feel like to the people who aren't benefiting off the economic stimulus.
Yeah.
I know it's very little borderline socialist, but whatever.
Well, yeah, I think that at the end of the day, the truth is, these are such complex problems that there isn't one solution. Right. Like, you could obviously be like, the government's too fat, we need to trim the government. And I think that would obviously make some people's lives a lot better, but it may make some people's lives a lot worse, right? Some people may have to rely on the generosity of others rather than the government.
Well, that's why the cracking of the eggs and who gets to decide and whatever. And if we let a computer pick, I don't think it's going to care.
Yeah, I think, a computer may look at it and be like, you're spending this much money on these social programs that affect this many people? No, you're not. No, you're not. Yeah. And congratulations, you just got all that money back.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's tough. Well, I think AI and robotic manufacturing is going to take over a tremendous amount of manufacturing jobs. I think it's going to take over all kinds of jobs. Well, at the very least, if you have a robotics manufacturing plant here, there's still going to be jobs there. There's still going to be people who work on the machines or whatever, right? We're going to at least keep it as long as possible. And then at the very least, you're going to encourage property development. You're going to encourage things like that here. I don't know, man, keeping it.
But I mean, very little stuff is completely made in the United States. Like I would say if we ordered boxes from China, I bet in the U.S. because of the tariffs, I bet they'd go up because I bet you some of the cardboard or something comes from some of the equipment they use, something comes from China.
Yep.
And so
I'm sure that it would come. I'm sure that it would be well strategically placed. You could easily do it on finished goods.
Yeah.
You could easily do it on certain levels of things.
Right.
If you're importing ingredients, like if we got to bring in chocolate from Belgium or something, I don't know that we couldn't make it. Whatever, right?
But what about like lithium?
Right. That's one of the ones where, man, some of the commodities level stuff, which I guess chocolate, but some of that level stuff, cobalts, lithiums, they do so much bad. I don't want to play world police anymore, but I also hate what I see at those mines in those countries.
Yeah.
It's bad. So.
Right. But it'd just be interesting, right? Because like you could have a product that's completely made in the United States, but they're sourcing ingredients, if you will, from outside the U.S. But now that product that's made in the USA, you're like, why is this thing so much more expensive? Well, some of the parts and pieces,
It's tough, man. It's tough. We've been propped up on an economy of unsustainability for a little while. Everything is getting cheaper made and more expensive. Yeah. And it's been happening forever. And where's it go? Like cabinets and stuff will fall apart, whereas like my grandparents' stuff is like kicking still.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean,
and it was made by one dude who earned a living for his family by like making a cabinet.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of people like find these like solid wood dressers and stuff from some of these estate sales and things, and they paint and doctor them up because at the end of the day, like you're not going to find something built like that
get
anymore.
In it if there's a bomb.
Yeah, it is true. It's solid.
Here we go. We got some updates. Yeah,
Eastman showed us the top performing Congress traders. So Nancy Pelosi
on the year though.
Nancy Pelosi's portfolio is up 65%.
Hey, she's a goat.
Yeah, and then I know Dan Crenshaw 38%, but the real winner here is the Democratic representative from New York City, Brian Higgins, who notched to 238%. That is insane.
Yeah, that's not the market average. That's so far above the market average. It's ridiculous.
100% return would be doubling your money.
Yeah.
So he tripled his money. So like if you would, just to put this into layman's terms for everyone else, if you had $10,000 just laying around, you decided to throw it in, you would have walked away with an extra $23,000. So you literally would have like $33,000 from your 10 grand in 1 year. And if anyone knows of any place to get a 200% return on your money consistently without much risk, let me know because I have a lot of money to get you.
Yeah, man. I mean, on the year, wonder what it is on the decade, but
because it's
average return 10%, right?
The average return is 10% per year. Over like a 30-year period on the S&P because like they obviously have years that are negative and years that are way above 10%. I think what's crazy is Nancy Pelosi and some of these other guys, people that we're mentioning, they're consistently up like 65% and 50%. So like the year-on-year average, when we're talking is like 10%, these people are returning 6, 7, 8 times on average the year-over-year return of the market. I mean, 238% is like probably, I mean, that's better than the 30-year average.
Right.
Like, it truncated into 1 year, almost.
Yeah, and I mean, for anybody to believe that it is just by skills, it's insane. If you're that skilled at trading the stock market, you need to go do some more politicking.
Yeah. It would take you 24 years to get Brian Higgins' return that he got in a year.
On average,
Yeah. So
he's a smart cookie.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by that. It's just like, man, that is insane.
I mean, it should be illegal, but it's not.
Well, all right. Well, we'll go get into some fat and weird news. I know that a lot of you, specifically Max, if you're watching this, Max actually sent me a text the other day, and he goes, I completely agree with you about the freeze-dried candy.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I've always thought it was like a gimmicky market that is going to do well at like the low end store level, like you walk into
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, a place and they've got this candy that's freeze dried.
Yeah.
Not grocery store level even.
Because you can't say what it is.
Yeah.
It's not I don't know what all you can eat for this. This isn't a M&M.
Yeah.
Even though you bought M&Ms to make it.
Right.
It's nothing. It's a frozen chocolate explosion.
Right. And then I wonder, like,
actually, chocolate, I don't think you can do it with.
And a lot of the packaging will say, like, not for resale. Like, you can't resell this product, right? So then it's, like, really weird. Yeah, I know. So, but no, he like, completely agreed with me because he's like, it's a gimmicky product. And, like, at the end of the day, the barrier to entry is so low.
Well, if I invested all that in that thing, I would just pivot over to the, like, prepper.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Doomsday prepper side, yeah.
All day. They got some money to spend too.
Or into just like the concentrates market. Like the reconcentrate, like hey, was it in 1080p? Oh. Okay, well, we'll end soon. But that market, you know, the whole idea of like, hey, this is a pasta that you can sauce you can reconstitute, you know, I think it's big.
I think it's neat that you can do that with eggs and everything, and it'll last 25, 30, whatever years.
Yeah, forever, pretty much. So
that's pretty neat.
But yeah, so business stuff that has to do with Fat and Weird. I guess really the next big thing is like, when you would probably know better than me, when do you think bites will actually be available for people to order?
August.
Oh, really? You think it'll all be August?
Well, I'm hopeful.
Okay.
So, yeah, Unify will be picking up on the 28th. Publix puts their order in on the 28th.
Yep.
We got to call them later, but there's no reason we can't have most of that PO worked on or working on before we submit it with them. Mm-hmm. Then however long it takes to get distribution, I'm kind of tacking like what I think will be another 30 days, maybe September. Maybe it's better give them all of August to get it to the stores and get it everywhere.
Well, I think the DoorDash.
But the DoorDash will be in.
The DoorDash should be in, like, and they will start distributing in July. I don't think that it'll be early July. Definitely not. Yeah. But I think your prediction of late July, early August is probably pretty spot on. For Dash? Yeah, for Dash. So, again, I don't know if this is DoorDash and DashMart or just DashMart.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know?
I think it's just DoorDash.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. That's what we like them.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, and then by that point, though, we'll also be nationwide with them.
That's right.
So, like, pretty much any location,
any major metropolitan for sure.
Do you know how many cities this is? 150, 200?
So we were at 121.
Yep.
We were adding 50 sites, but it don't equal 171 now. So I got to get a better one. It's over 150 for sure.
Okay.
But we got to get a better number.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyways, the bites will be really great. I know that we're working right now on the sheet to go to Cinemark with the being cookie dough bites in a cup. And then there's also some Circle K locations.
Yep, we're talking to Circle K. We've got an in with a local guy here at Inland that has the Inland gas stations.
Okay.
So he's got 3 here. We put in a call to Giambra to see if he could deal with distribution for us so we didn't have to, and then we can order them from our guys up in Georgia.
Yeah.
And he can hold them. Otherwise, we may try to juggle some stuff, but it's like, we may do it, but I don't know where they are, and I know that gas stations don't have like a freezer in the back. They got fridges in the back, so it's like, how often do you want us to get these? So we may just have to cover some shipping or something and work on that. But they've got 70 total stores. Some of them are grocery stores. Kind of rural. I don't know whether it's a good product for the grocery stores or not.
It's a good product for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, the price point is really great on them. Yep. It's very unique. Like you're not finding stuffed cookie dough bites like anywhere else that I even know of. Like, I mean, I've searched online and could not find anything. So like, I think we're the first to like come to market with these. We have a lot of fun stuff on the horizon that deals with those, obviously new flavors of the bites, but we're kind of in that phase, just like Max is like you have strips. Now he has bites, and now he's doing strips in party packs, like a bigger bag.
Oh, cool.
That you could get. So, but he's kind of like, what's going to do well?
Right.
Because whatever does well, which he thinks is going to be the bites, whatever does well, I'm going to start doubling down on that and start trimming it, which y'all can be the first to know. This is some Fat and Weird news. When we do our birthday sale at the end of July or beginning of August, whenever we do that, that will be the last time to get the 1 pound mega cookies and the the dough cups. We'll be discontinuing that just because we have to focus on our products. It takes up too much space. It's too, I guess, time intensive.
It's focus. We only have so much focus, and we've got a great core product, and we've got customer base that just wants more and more of that product. So we want to lean into that product. Yeah, just like what Brad said. It's an intense time, dude. It's a very intense time. We've got e-com going. We've got all the wholesale stuff going. We're juggling new projects. We've got a new box that we're working on to come out by the end of the year.
New people like QVC.
New people, QVC opportunities. I guess we could touch on, we've added RJ to the mix.
Yeah, we have, so I don't know if we mentioned it. We have Oh Cool, which is like a media company that's literally Gen Z, 18 to 22-year-olds. They were here last week. They're kind of working on some content. It's completely different than the style we normally do, but at the same time, Aubrey and I just can't be so involved. We're too busy. So it's fun to have them. We added like a freelance guy named RJ who's been working on some more content for us as well. And then Andy starts July 1st to be a full-time videographer for Fat and Weird, and we're really going to start pushing like long-form content with him.
And so that's part of our strategy is that, we're flexible enough to do this kind of stuff, to get even, what you want to call it, more and more popular in the various social spaces, to get more attention so that people know the brand, they associate it with fun and all that stuff. So that all these partnerships that we described to you guys, you'll already have that feeling because you've seen this and know us, but the kids or whomever may have already seen it. Like I said, when I went up to New Jersey to pitch Wakefern, it was really cool when folks were like, "Oh, Fat and Weird, I've heard of you guys. I follow you." Boom, boom. They already showed me. And I'm like, "Cool,
yeah,
neat."
Yeah, I think that's something that's always going to be cool to me as well, too. Even I have people that don't even know who I am that know who Fat and Weird Cookie is, and so I think it's a really cool thing. I always think sometimes like, how does Hayden Schneider and Katie Hearn feel to like walk into a store, see their product there, people picking it up maybe, and they look over at them, like glance over at them, and don't even realize that they're the ones that own this company.
As a long-time businessman or whatever, man, that's how I know I've made it, or my business has. Because it doesn't know me.
Yeah.
Because when it knows you, it's, hey, man, support my business, support my business, support my business. Come on. And you still do that, but you've built this machine that's able to do it so much more than you even can. Right. You're still doing it. You know what I mean? It's wild. And so, it's crazy.
So if you are a business who could wholesale our product, feel free to reach out to Christian at fatandweirdcookie.com. Otherwise, stay tuned to some of the locations that we're going to be in. Like I said, this has been an exciting time.
Yeah, our store locator's updated. So if you guys want to go to fatandweirdcookie.com, you can see where all.
And I think we're adding like sometime this month or next month, we're adding like 50 more Cold Stone locations. So we're growing with them too. People ask me all the time, like, how's Fat and Weird doing? I say, it's doing really great. I feel like I'm on the cusp.
On paper.
Yeah.
That's how I say it. But go ahead.
I feel like we're on the cusp of like, kind of like this explosion, if you will, but it's like not quite there yet. Like I can see the sparks and I know that things are going well, but I don't feel like it's like turned that corner quite yet, you know?
We've grown tremendously over the past year. And with that, all profits have been reinvested. Everything has had to go back in because we're working. We've talked about this. We're working with net term, net payments.
Well, we spent almost $1 million on equipment in the last
and we have almost $1 million in accounts receivable today.
Yeah,
sitting. So it's like, what Brad's talking about is that we get a big order, we get it, we fulfill it, they pay for it, we get a bigger order. Basically, have to send more money than we took in out, and so.
And then buying the equipment, like I said, just to continue our production. Like we purchased a machine that will, no lie, probably like 8x our output of cookie dough bites, and that won't be here until October, November timeframe. And it's like really sucks to be putting this like 50% deposit down on this huge piece of equipment that you're just like waiting on it now. And I get it. That's a big piece of equipment for them to build. So they want to make sure that like if anything happens, they at least got some of your money. But at the same time, it's like, dang, this is a lot of money to give to somebody to hold essentially for like 6 months.
Yeah, to wait. Yeah, it's tough, man. But we're doing it.
Yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. As always, you're worth it. Do hard shit.